is my first video blog. I'm going to be analysing Danny Boyle's The Beach, a really effective opening for a thriller. This is what you're about to see. Danger is a big part of it, and I think this opening establishes and sort of foreshadows the danger that Leonardo DiCaprio's character Richard falls into later on in the film. So first of all, I want you to take a look at the opening 2 minutes yourself. I'm included a link to this, and if you take a look first, I'm going to edit this video so that you can come back afterwards, and I'll be discussing why I like this opening so much. So if you take a look first and pause this video, and I'll be back to analyse the rest of the film. Okay, see you then. Right, so I've quickly run up to my room. I'm going to be watching the opening as you see it as well, so if you go back to the beginning of the video, and I'm just going to be looking at it, and you can sort of pause when I pause, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to be looking at the opening. First of all, the titles that I've noticed are sort of blurring, they're out of focus. This sense of, it's not predictable. There's this sort of dangerous nature to the way that the film begins with the opening titles themselves. Right, so next I'm watching the opening of Leonardo DiCaprio's character as he arrives in this strange and mysterious place. So immediately you see how isolated he is. There's no one else there. He's amongst all these cars and all these vehicles. It's a very strange and mysterious place that he steps into. It's also interesting how his face is dark amongst this white blinding light of where he's behind. So it has this sort of Blade Runner feel to it, this sort of neon lights that represent danger and sin almost. So yeah, his face is black, and this represents the sort of danger and how liable he is to causing danger, I suppose. It's also quite effective how we open with a monologue of Richard, and obviously we realise that he's the main protagonist, and the way that he doesn't really give too much about his character. We just know that his name is Richard. We don't know anything really about his past. I think that's quite effective. It sort of heightens this sense of tension and not knowing too much about our protagonist, and it sort of puts the audience on tenterhooks, and I think that's quite clever how Boyle. You also see Richard looking straight at the Buddha, which is sort of symbolic, I think, of the worshipping of sin. Richard also makes no qualms about how he's come to Bangkok for something more beautiful, something more exciting, and something more dangerous. And I think this sort of trio of qualities is something quite... the audience sees how this isn't going to end up well. And also this listing of the boring and the mundane of being on this plane for so long, watching so many bad movies. It sort of shows how Richard has sort of been building up this desire for danger and excitement. So now this menacing club music begins to set in, and we see Richard walking amongst all these stalls, and it's quite interesting how the red shirt that he's wearing, none of the other people that you see in this clip are wearing red. So that's sort of symbolic of, again, this desire for danger that he wants, and it sort of shows this isolation and alienation that he feels, the irony of being in such a busy place and yet being on your own is quite interesting. You then see this one man begin to follow DiCaprio's character, asking him questions, asking him if he wants to try snake blood. And snake blood, I think, is sort of a metaphor for the dangers hidden within Bangkok, so that's quite interesting. And also the man himself is sort of symbolic of the danger that he is going to encounter. The way that he initially refuses the snake blood is quite interesting, because it shows how his conscience is at play with him. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know whether to accept this. And when the man sort of teases him and says, well, you know, you're just like every other tourist, it shows how Richard is a different person, and he is isolated, and he's not this American tourist like the audience may expect. He's a different person, and he wants to get away from this ideal of just an American tourist, and so he relents, and that shows how he is liable to manipulation, and that's quite scary, really, for the audience, and adds to this sense of thriller and tense nature of the film in this opening. So the iconography of the snake represents and is symbolic of the danger that Richard wants to become a part of, and the way that he actually drinks the snake blood shows how he wants to become and integrate himself within this society that has connotations of danger and sin and all these other things that Richard wants to become a part of, and it shows metaphorically how he's not afraid and he wants to become a part of this community that is associated with danger. Drinks that snake blood, you can sort of see the pain in his face, sort of shows how this grey area of Richard, how he's not necessarily a bad boy, there are good parts to him, and he doesn't really want to accept this danger and evil, and yet he has to force it down, and you hear that in his opening monologue about how, you know, you've got to get on with it, and if you want to become a part of this society, then you've got to accept the consequences of that, which include the danger that the blood itself represents. The lighting in the opening is symbolic of the danger that he is going to encounter, how these dark colours that are used are symbolic of danger hidden beneath the surface. Also, the use of neon lights has this sort of Blade Runner effect that shows how artificial all these pleasures are, and the drugs and the drink and smoking. It sort of shows how it's not real. This pleasure that people experience isn't really real, and the dark colours are used to juxtapose this artificial pleasure with the darkness hidden beneath the surface. Okay, so this is my first analysis of the opening of a film through the medium of video recording, and I thought it went quite well, actually. I've sort of learned how the use of an opening of a film can be used to foreshadow the more pessimistic and negative events and dangerous events that happen in the rest of the film. So that's quite clever. Also, the use of colour and lighting shows how isolated he is. The use of neon lights show how artificial all these pleasures are that are amongst him. And I think the isolation that I touched on shows how he wants to distance himself from all this, and that's shown later on in the film when he becomes a part of this community that longs to distance itself from everything that's fake and seemingly good but negative on the surface, beneath the surface. So yeah, he integrates himself within this community, and that is very far away from what you see in this opening of people and the snake blood as well, and the danger. He doesn't want to be a part of that. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my analysis. I'm going to be doing a few more of these videos, so stay tuned for more of these. Okay, thanks for watching. Okay, bye.